Does freedom of speech give the right to offend? Douglas Murray from The Spectator, if you'd been a newspaper editor, would you have done this? Would you do this? Because surely it would be reckless, and you would be putting, as Stephen Pollard said this week, you would be putting the lives of your staff at huge risk.
Well, first of all, we have to remember what's going on here. This is an attempt, a very clear, very bloody attempt, to impose Islamic blasphemy law in France and across Europe. And it has to be stopped. That's why these men did it. That's why the journalists of Charlie Hebdo are dead. An attempt to impose Islamic blasphemy law in Paris. The problem is that unless you have an I am Spartacus, as you say, tactic on it, it's not worth any one individual or any one, well, let's put it this way, no one publication doing it, because, after the Danish cartoons affair, Charlie Hebdo was the only paper in the world, really, that continued to say it is our right as secular French citizens to draw, lampoon, laugh at, write about whatever we want. We're free people in a free society. They were the only ones who held on to that, and obviously on Wednesday morning we know what happened as a result. So any one publication would, I think, undoubtedly put its staff at considerable risk. That's why I've suggested this week, repeated what Ayaan Hirsi Ali said after the Danish cartoons affair. We have to spread the risk around. The free press in the free world has to spread the risk around. Our freedoms hang on this. It cannot be left to a single individual or a single publication, a single satirical magazine, to hold the line for all of our freedoms.
Raza Nadim, I come to you because you are scowling.
Yeah, because I disagree with everything he said so far. Because
everything?
Yeah, most of what he said, because I stopped listening after a while because it just didn't make sense. When he talks about we should, the news, Charlie Hebdo published whatever they wanted, that's rubbish. They were overtly racist towards Muslims. They were always lampooning Arabs and being overtly racist in most of their publications, and it smacks of hypocrisy because they were prepared, in the name of freedom of speech, to sack a journalist who wrote a column that they considered to be anti-Semitic. So how come there's a line there, but when it comes to Muslims, it doesn't matter, take it on the chin. Why are we treated differently from others?
Could I just answer that?
He was charged with a hate crime as well.
Sorry, it's really rich. There are 12 people dead.
Oh, please, no, don't try to use their deaths. No. Just don't. Please, don't try, because I just give you an example where they did. No, let me finish my point. The clear example where they don't care for freedom of speech.
Okay, on that
example,
Douglas will address that example. If he doesn't, we'll make him. And then I'll come back to you and ask you another question.
A dozen people were killed, and they're now being smeared as racists, like this gentleman here. And I think that's intolerable.
No, I did not.
He clearly knows nothing about Charlie Hebdo,
I just gave you an example.
About France, nothing about French traditions of free speech. Charlie Hebdo is a left-wing, anti-racist publication. It has lampooned and does lampoon everybody. In recent years, it has taken particular delight in lampooning. Most of the attacks on Charlie Hebdo, the non-physical attacks, have been from the Catholic Church, repeated attempts to criminalise Charlie Hebdo for what it says about the Pope. Marine Le Pen, the far right-wing leader, is one of the main targets of their satire. You don't understand anything.
I just gave you an example.
Let me ask you a question, and then thereafter we're going to spread the love, okay? As it were. Raza, Douglas touches on this. France has a long, some would say fantastic, certainly very proud tradition of vulgar and rude and anti-religious cartoons. Isn't it a cultural imposition for a minority to seek to change that?
Muslims
answer that question.
In France, in 2006, a rapper was prosecuted for saying, "I want to urinate on Napoleon." So where's this, in believing in a person, we can offend whoever we want? It's rubbish. Muslims are being asked to believe in freedom of speech more than others are, because in France they're prepared to prosecute an individual on that basis. They've banned comedians that they consider to be anti-Semitic. Now I'm saying it's right, if someone's being anti-Semitic, stop them. But when we're saying someone is being Islamophobic and anti-Muslim, we're saying, well, take it on the chin. Why are we treated differently?
If it's unacceptable, as many people feel it is, many people find it deeply offensive to see cartoons of the Muslim prophet Muhammad, is there any way in which it is acceptable to poke fun at Islam?
If you want to poke fun, no one really cares. But the thing is, this isn't about poking
We're
fun.
not talking about cartoons. Is there any
Well,
way?
no, hang on, no, this wasn't about poking fun. This case is being painted as a freedom of speech issue, and it's clearly linked to the war on terror.
Oh,
if you
for
look at
goodness
the cartoon, the killers,
For
what they say, we're
goodness
part of Al-Qaeda. It wasn't a cartoon that riled them up. It was foreign policy and the war on terror.
Let me bring it back if I can. Let me bring it. Of course you wouldn't. But let me bring it back. People are worried about blasphemy here, sort of stealth, through the back door, or through the front door, whatever.
Very much through the front door. Can I just quickly, there are some people speaking about who have clearly sort of mugged up on Charlie Hebdo in the last couple of days and drawn from this tragedy whatever they like, but you really should know more if you're going to speak about this.
And I have shown more about than you about this
You're
topic.
going to need to know more
before you
smear dead
I'm not smearing. I'm not
But let me
smearing all
just,
dead
one
people.
thing you may not be aware
ridiculous.
of, one thing you may not be aware of, but it's worth throwing into the discussion, is that there are laws on the continent, particularly to do with anti-Semitism and particularly to do with the Holocaust. And let me just explain, because you may again not know this, but the historical reasons for that. France has historical reasons to be incredibly sensitive of anti-Semitism in particular, because within people's living memory, tens of thousands of Jews were put onto trains and slaughtered.
So we shouldn't be sensitive of Islamophobia?
No, let me explain.
Well, we shouldn't be sensitive of it. There's a secret website called Google.
Let me finish the point I'm making. There are very specific
Let him explain.
There are very specific
explain.
reasons. There are very specific reasons in France and Germany why some of those laws exist. But let me get back to the main point which you've been trying to divert us from. That's this. What is going on with this is an attempt not to make Islam be treated differently, not to making Charlie Hebdo. It wasn't to treat Islam differently or Muhammad. It was to treat Islam exactly the same way that secular free people have the right to talk about every religion. And this gentleman and others are trying through the front door, some people through the front door with Kalashnikovs and others through the back door with this kind of weasel talk. What they do is try to make one religion free from being able to be criticised, and it must be stopped.
Well, people that are so insensitive are with you about their own religion. Taiwo, from Discuss Jesus.